All right, hello to SpeedGaming. Thank you all for coming to this race. The illustrious voice that you hear is the James Earl Jones-esque voice of Don't Bagumi, and I assure you my voice always sounds like this. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's 4 in the morning for me. Anyway, I will be commentating this race. I also developed this race, and looks like we're off to the races already. So this is the randomizer for Illusion of Gaia. Now, what's happening right now is that our runners, Sye990 and solarcell007, have chosen a mode called Random Start Mode. And what this does is this means you don't start in South Cape as you normally would do. You can start at pretty much any dark space in the world. And so the dark space that the game has chosen for them to start is the dark space in the southeast room of the Sky Garden. In their settings, they chose Forced Unsafe as their start location, and that puts them in the middle of a random dungeon. And so here we go. This is actually not a bad place to start. It opens up a lot for them. They can have access immediately to the southeast continent, and I guess I should talk about continents. So the first thing I hear when a lot of people talk about this game and that there's a randomizer for it is, how is it possible there's a randomizer for this game? Because the game is so extraordinarily linear, and it really is. Once anyone who's played this game before knows that it just goes straight down the train tracks. Once you hit an area, there's pretty much no going back. If you miss an item, then pretty much deal with it. You know, that's kind of how the game is. And so what we've done in randomizing this game is we've made it more of an open world game. And one of the ways that we've done that is we've separated the world into continents. And if you leave a continent, then you have access to all the other locations in that continent, and you can go back and forth. Now, traveling in between continents, we have used some of the key items in the game to allow players to travel between continents, and I'll be explaining those as they come up. So what's happening now is both of our runners are just going through Sky Garden, getting the items that they can get. If I'm correct, I believe there are 8 items in Sky Garden throughout. This is sort of a hub-like dungeon, and right now Sye is trying to get over that ramp, and there he goes. So they're doing a glitch right now. This particular room in Sky Garden is supposed to be this huge wraparound where you go around and move the statue and do all this stuff, but both our runners are doing a couple glitches that are making it so that they can just bypass all of that and just get the item straight away. So that's what they're both doing right now. There are a few items that they cannot get in this dungeon until they get Dark Friar. And what they're doing is they're checking these dark spaces, because these dark spaces can contain abilities. There are 6 special abilities in the game, 3 of them for Will, who you can see right now, and there's also another form that they can take named Freedan, and 3 of the moves are for Freedan. And so they'll be jumping into dark spaces to see what's going on there, to see if they can pick up a move, some of which are required typically to beat the game. You'll also notice that their sprites may look a little interesting. We have made a couple custom sprites for these particular runners. These are some of the best guys ever. Sye990, solarcell007. They've both been really involved in this community from the very beginning. I started making this randomizer back in February, and the playtesters have just been amazing. This is the first of this sort of project that I've ever taken on myself. And so having just a really dedicated team of experienced runners in the game to test out all the stuff that I was trying, and to catch the many copious bugs that came up during the process, and dealing with unbeatable seeds and all that sort of stuff. They've just been amazing. And so after the showcase race, when this randomizer was ready for prime time, that happened on the RPG Limit Break channel. After that, we created some custom sprites for these 2 guys, as well as some of the other runners of the game. Anyway, So they're not leaving Sky Garden because they've gotten all the items that they need, or that they can get at this point. When they get Dark Friar, they can come back and get more of the items. So what they're doing right now is they are going throughout the southeast continent and gathering some of the items there. There's one item in the Diamond Coast, and there are 5 or 6, 5 items, I think, in Frisia that they're cleaning up right now. And so that's what they're doing. So what we're looking for is we're looking for a couple items that would allow them to travel to other continents. And those items might include Lola's Letter. Now, in the normal game, Lola's Letter is actually just a throwaway item that you get in Dao that just says, hey, you know, here's your father's journal, and the father's journal allows you to be able to complete the hieroglyph puzzle in the pyramid dungeon. And you can actually, I think you can just toss it from your inventory right when you get it. I don't know if speedrunners even pick it up. But in this game, it's actually a very important item. And what this does is, of all things, it teaches you Morse code. Now, how is that useful in the game? Well, halfway through the game, in the vanilla run, there's a scene where one of the NPCs in the game named Seth has turned into a sea monster. Yes, I know. This game is awesome. You don't have to tell me. And so what we did in this game is that if you know Morse code, you can talk with Seth, and he can actually take you across the sea. And what Sye is doing right now is he's looking at the jeweler, and Solar's doing the same thing, and they're seeing what his inventory is. Okay, so jeweler doesn't really give you very much in this game, or this particular seed. The jeweler in this game can have any item. Can have key items, can have red jewels. And so as you collect red jewels, you can turn them into the jeweler and gain items. Sometimes the jeweler has really important stuff. In this particular seed, he does not so much. So they verified that, and now they're dipping into Diamond Mine. So Lola's Letter, back to that. Once you know Morse code, you can communicate with Seth in fish form, and he can take you to various other places. So that's one of the custom travel items that we've made for the game. Oh, and the memory melody, which Sye just found, that's actually a very important item as well. In the vanilla game, that's used. Actually, you get that item in this dungeon, and you use that to restore Lance's memory so that you can progress the game. And that's really its only use. In this game, it's Neil, who's another NPC. He's kind of a Leonardo da Vinci type, and he has a bunch of inventions that help the team through this game. And one of them is an airplane. And so the way we've incorporated into the randomizer is Neil has lost his memory. He doesn't remember how to fly his plane. And so if you play the memory melody for him, he can take you in his plane pretty much anywhere else in the world. That's an unfortunate death from Sye. I'm trying to get in to check this dark space right here. Now, there's an item right next to where they are right now that I don't think they can get right now because they don't have any will abilities. There's a false wall just north of where Solar is right now. But because he doesn't have either Psycho Dash, Psycho Slider, or Spin Dash, he can't break down that wall to get that item. So they're probably going to have to come back to this dungeon again once they have some better abilities. But this is what they have access to right now, and so this is what they're going for. But now they have Memory Melody, that opens up a whole lot. There are some other travel items that come up that we'll talk about. Alright, well anyway, so we've taken a couple deaths so far. I think both runners have, if I remember correctly. And this is on extreme difficulty. There are 4 difficulties currently, and probably forever, that the randomizer has. And that determines enemy strength. It also determines the number of stat upgrades that are available to players. It also random stuff like hints. There are, I think, 11 NPCs that are designated as hint NPCs, where if you talk to them, they can tell you the location of one of the items in the item pool. But in extreme mode, that has been disabled, and so you won't see our runners going after any hints. They're going completely blind. They don't know when they open anything what they're going to be opening. But what extreme difficulty does, most notably, is it makes enemies very punishing, and you saw Sye take another unfortunate death there. Just one hit here in the Diamond Mine, which is a relatively early dungeon. So this is sort of our nightmare mode, is extreme mode. It's very difficult. It's very punishing. It requires perfect execution and movement to get around these enemies. And so that's that situation. And Sye990 and SolarCell are just the kind of sadistic people that enjoy that kind of challenge. So kudos for them. I've never played extreme mode. I don't know if I've ever played this game without cheating, to be honest. Just kidding. So, speaking of the memory melody, we just saw SolarCell use the memory melody to go to Neil, and Neil then took him to the Tower of Babel, and he's now entering Tower of Babel early, and he gets an ability, which is Spin Dash. That's a great find. So now that Solar has Spin Dash, there's some more stuff that's opened up to him. He also showed off another mechanic that we threw into the game. There are a lot of opportunities to get lost or to get locked in this game. If you follow the vanilla progression, you'll find yourself, again, not able to backtrack, being stuck in a dead end. And so what we've done is that there are these dark spaces throughout the game that allow you to talk to Gaia, and sometimes she grants you an ability. Mostly she's just there to save the game and to give you hints along the way. But we've made it so that any dark space you go into, you can use it to return to start, no matter where you are. And so it's sort of a warp point back to start. And in this particular case, again, this is random start mode, and so while normally you would spawn back in South Cape, now every time they spawn, they get spawned back to the middle of Sky Garden. And so that's that mechanic. Alright, so now Solar is going back into Diamond Mine. He's going to use that Spin Dash to gather there's two items that he can pick up now. He's going to use it to break down this wall and get this item from this laborer. And he's also going to use Slider to go up a ramp at the end. You're not supposed to have Slider at this point of the game. Not Slider, I keep saying Slider, Spin Dash. Apologies. So you're not supposed to have Spin Dash at this point of the game. And so you can use it to do sort of a sequence break, at least not intended. You're supposed to be able to use Dark Friar, which is a ranged attack that Freedan uses in order to kill this one enemy, break down this barrier, and that allows you to run up this ramp and to get this item. Looks like Sye is taking the same routing choice that Solar did and is going to Tower of Babel, so he'll be getting Spin Dash here as well. You can see Solar, he just zips right up that ramp that you're supposed to be able to run up with Freedan. And that's a randomizer-only strat that kind of, came up from playing this game. That's something you would never know unless you randomize the game to such an extent to where you had abilities that you're not supposed to have in this part of the game. And he's actually going to clear this place out. If he goes back to this place where he was before, he can use Spin Dash to break down the wall, check this final dark space, and maybe get another ability for his trouble. Alright, so let's see if Solar's choice to come back here paid off. Nope. Okay, so we're done with Diamond Mine until we find the elevator key. Something really interesting about the way these dungeons are put together. Again, the game is very linear, and so there's really... the way that in the vanilla game they kind of try to make things interesting is they'll give you items that unlock, or moves that unlock parts of the dungeon in the dungeon itself. And so you don't have access to the whole dungeon when you first come in. You just find items and you can progress that way. Well, the way that works in the randomizer, there are, if I remember correctly, 112 items in the item pool in this game. 50 of them are red, actually 48 of them are red jewels because 2 of them are double items. There are 12 herbs, and everything else is a key item. So if you compare this randomizer to another game such as A Link to the Past randomizer, in A Link to the Past, for instance, there are a lot of, red rupees, a lot of kind of junk items like that. In this randomizer, there aren't, and I think A Link to the Past has maybe over 250 items in the pool, and again, a lot of them are those kind of freebie junk items that don't offer you any progression. But in this game, the concentration of key items is so high, and the way the dungeons are put together are so layered that require multiple items to get through them, is that you get a lot of double dipping into dungeons in this randomizer, which is just an interesting kind of byproduct as to how the game is put together. All right, so we see now we see our first divergence in the two runners and where they've chosen to go. Once they got to Babel, Solar chose to go back to Diamond Mine and clear it out as much as he could until he gets the elevator key, which opens up the second wing of that. And then he went to Euro to get the 6 of the 7 items here. He needs the apple to get the last item. Here's in Solar's screen, there's a house that a lot of people miss. It's not in the speedrun, but that grants you an item, believe it or not. Sye chose to go to Dao instead to get the items there, and now he's going into Native's village. And he'll probably go to Euro after this. I'm kind of with Sye on this one. The way that again, intercontinental movement works in this game is Dao and the Pyramid are in the northwest continent by themselves. The north continent is Euro, Native's village, all of that. If you have the large roast, which is an item that you get early on in the vanilla game, but doesn't really have a use other than just, again, progressing the plot. The way we're using it in this is that if you give that large roast to one of the children in the Native's village, then they'll take you to Dao. So they don't have that item yet, I don't believe, so they can't go that direction. But if you're already in Dao, then you can automatically go back to the Native's village the other direction. So starting in Dao, I think, is probably the right call. The size, so that he can get all the items he can there, drop off some hieroglyphs at the pyramid, and then make his way back to the North Continent. All right, Solar is dipping into Angkor Wat. I wish I could control whose audio we hear. Angkor Wat is my favorite music, and so anytime, if I'm commentating a race like this and I have access over the audio, I'll switch over whenever anybody gets to Angkor Wat, just because it's my favorite. I just love it. Anyway, he needs Slider to be able to progress through this. He already has Spin Dash. He needs Spin Dash and Slider to get into that dungeon, but there's one item for free at the beginning that he went and got. Oh, I was incorrect. They do have the apple, so they can full clear Euro. And Anne gives them a crystal ball. Oh my goodness, 17 minutes in and we're already seeing Mount Cress. Feels bad, man. Anyway, so this is everybody's favorite dungeon in the game, all the Kappas that you see on SolarCell's screen. It is Mount Temple, which is neither a mountain nor a temple, so go figure. But it's a huge maze. You get these mushroom drops that allow you to grow vines and progress through the game. And Solar gets another will ability, Psycho Slider. All right, that's not a bad find either. Rip some speedrun strats that make it so that once you get Slider, there are some strats that you can't pull off to save some time. So that's okay. At least they got through Sky Garden, which is where a lot of those strats are. So he's pretty happy with Slider, I bet. Once the runners get Dark Friar, they'll be done with abilities. They don't need Aura Barrier. They don't need Earthquaker. There's only one place where Earthquaker is useful, and that's in Angkor Wat to progress. But there's a speedrunner glitch where you can use Dark Friar instead. So once we get Dark Friar, the players won't need anything else. They don't need Psycho Dash, which is the last. It's actually the first ability, but the last ability in the list that I'm rattling off right now, because anything that Psycho Dash can do can also be done by Spin Dash and Psycho Slider. And again, that's something about the game that we never would have discovered unless, we were able to get runners in situations where they have late dungeon stuff or late game stuff in early dungeons. So now both of our runners are in Mount Crest. Going through, there are 5 total items in this dungeon, but the last 3 are each hidden behind these items called mushroom drops, which, as I mentioned before, allow you to grow vines and progress through the dungeon. It seems like they're both making good choices for this seed because they're both getting these two important abilities, slider and spin, early on, which is going to open up a lot more stuff to them. So, pretty close race so far. Oh, there's a strength jewel that Solar just got. The only strength and defense upgrades that the players will get in extreme mode are from items. In the vanilla game, there are NPCs that give you stat upgrades. Most of the stat upgrades come from clearing rooms and or beating bosses. The way that upgrades work in this game is if you clear a room full of enemies, then you get an upgrade to either strength, defense, or health. But if you skip those upgrades, when you beat the boss that's over that area, you get those upgrades anyway. And so you'll see speedrunners always choosing to just forego getting room upgrades and just skipping them. And then when they beat the boss, they get caught up anyway. Now that mechanic is the same in the randomizer. We had to move some stuff around to make it a little bit more balanced. But that's still the case here. And so in extreme difficulty, you only get 6 health upgrades from beating bosses and or rooms. And oh, there's another death from Sye. That's not too bad. It just starts them back here. But right, so upgrades. So only random rooms will have upgrades, but the upgrades are more powerful in the randomizer, so that's the trade-off. So there's only one room for each boss that has a +3 HP upgrade. The other upgrades just come from the item pool. So in extreme mode, normally your max HP is 40. In extreme mode, I think it ends up working out to 26. So they're not really going to get much of a reprieve. You know, they're always going to have this low health going through this game. And that's just the kind of crazy people that these runners are. These are both established speedrunners of this game, by the way. And so it's really been a pleasure and a privilege to have both of these gentlemen as part of the playtesting team. Just their knowledge and execution of the game is just top-notch. And yeah, it is great, folks. They're good lads. Alright, so while they're clearing out this dungeon, I didn't mention mushroom drops. I'm not sure how many mushroom drops they have, but they have access to these 2 items right off the bat. And so they're at least getting those 2. And I think I saw somebody use a mushroom drop earlier, so they have access to at least 3 items. While we're in this dungeon, let's talk about Kara. So, how do we beat this game? Well, they're in Dark Gaia mode, which, like the vanilla game, you beat the game when you beat the final boss, which is Dark Gaia. Now, the way you get to Dark Gaia in the vanilla game is you climb the Tower of Babel, you get your last mystic statue. There are 6 mystic statues in the game, and that allows you access to beat the boss. And it also gives you access to the Firebird ability, which is the only special ability that is used in our 3rd fighting form, which is called Shadow. And what it is a ranged attack that allows you to be able to actually beat Dark Gaia. You can't beat Dark Gaia without it. So you can get it in her face. We finally have Solar Cell making his way back to the first continent and clearing out South Cape. So and he's going to talk to the teacher right here to let us know which statues he needs. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in the randomizer, when you have Dark Gaia seeds like this, you can determine the number of mystic statues you actually need. Again, there are 6 in the game. So, but these are 4 statue seeds. And so they won't be fighting every boss per se. They only need 4 of them. And it's 2, 3, what was it? 2, 3, 4, and 5? Well, we'll see from Sye right now. Yeah, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's Viper in Sky Garden, Vampires in Mew, Sandfinger in Great Wall, and the Mummy Queen. And this, okay, so we see Freedan running around South Cape, and it's like, what is this? What's happening here? This is a byproduct of chaos logic, which is another flag that they've chosen for this race. And what Chaos Logic, normally in the normal randomizer, you're restricted to only getting will moves in towns so that you don't get big beefy Freedan, walking around South Cape like this. But if you choose Chaos mode, then that restriction is lifted and you can get Freedan moves in towns. And so you get to see our good old beefy boy running around in South Cape, and no one seems to think anything of it. Anyway, so I was talking about Kara. So you have to get the Mystic statues that are required for the seed, and again, you talk to the teacher in South Cape to spoil which statues you actually need, and that tells you which bosses you need to beat. But that's not enough. You also need to rescue Kara. Now, Kara is everyone's favorite NPC from the game, and she, in the lore of the game, Will is the Dark Knight, and Kara is the Light Knight. And if they combine their powers, Wonder Trends activate, then that's what unlocks the Firebird ability, which allows Will in shadow form, and I guess Kara, also in shadow form, to defeat Dark Gaia. And so, in this randomizer, in order to beat a Dark Gaia Siege, you need to gather the Mystic statues that are required. You also need to find the aura, which unlocks Shadow's form. That's something fun we may get to see. We may get to see Shadow in early dungeons where he has no business being, because we've unlocked his form early. And we need to have rescued Kara from her painting. Now, about halfway through the vanilla game, there's a point when Kara gets trapped in a painting in the Angel Village, and you have to use magic dust to free her. So what we've done in this game is we've put her in one of the 5 minor dungeons of this game. So there are 6 major dungeons where you get your Mystic statues. There are 5 minor dungeons that don't give you statues, they just give you items. And so to give those minor dungeons something to do, we have put Kara at the very end of one of those 5, and it's random for every seed. If you find Lance's letter, Lance can tell you where she is, so that's a use for that item. And so I don't think we know where Kara is in this, but she could be at the end of, again, one of 5 locations. She could be at the end of Edward's Tunnel. She could be at the end of the Diamond Mine. She could be in Angel Village, which is her vanilla location. She could be in the end of Mount Crest, or she could be at the end of Angkor Wat. And that's how you beat the game. So that's go mode. Once you have all the items you need to gather all the Mystic statues, you need the aura to unlock Shadow's ability. You need the magic dust to free Kara from her painting, and you need all the items to progress to the end of whatever dungeon Kara lives in. Solar gets Dark Friar, which means he's done for abilities. He can skip visiting dark spaces now. That's actually pretty. It's actually pretty lucky that worked out. Okay, so once you get all those things, then you get the magic dust and you free Kara. Then you can talk to Gaia, and she'll ask you if you want to face the final boss. And that's where you go. All right, so both the runners have gotten Dark Friar pretty much back to back. This is a barn burner so far. And they're both in Edward's prison, which in the vanilla game, you need the prison key in order to get out of this particular room. But the way the randomizer works now is we can use dark spaces to warp out of there. Now, we had to move the dark space. It's typically in a side area in that room. We moved it up and to the left a little bit so that you can actually get out of this room. And we've done that a few times. We did that with the Tower of Babel as well, so that if you don't have the crystal ring to actually pass through the Tower of Babel, you can use a dark space to warp back to start. But now that our players have Dark Friar, which again is the last ability that they need, they are going to be completing Sky Garden. Now, it's sort of a joke in this community that Aura Barrier, which is the second ability that Freedan has, is rather useless. And it really is. It's supposed to be sort of a defensive ability. These spinning mirror plates surround him and damage enemies and kind of form a protective barrier around him. But it doesn't really work very well. The recharge time is really low, and so it's not active for very long, and it doesn't do its job very well, and it's just really useless. Well we actually had somebody find a use for it in the randomizer. There's actually an area in this game that you need Dark Friar in order to hit this statue, and then once you hit the statue, you can move it over the switch and then progress and get these 2 items. Well, it turns out if you have Aura Barrier, you can actually just barely meet the statue. You see it on solarcell's screen right now. He's fighting the sword, the flying sword of the statue. But if you stand right in that corner and use Aura Barrier, it's just barely long enough to be able to activate that statue. So, much to Sye's chagrin, it actually does have a potential use in the randomizer. Sye hates the ability so much that before, when he plays casually, before he gets a free Dan ability, because you don't know what ability you're getting until you actually get it, he'll save the game, and then if he gets Aura Barrier, he'll reset because he doesn't want to have that on his character. Gerard asks, can you hack Aura Barrier to be actually useful? I'm going to give a shout out right now to one of my co-developers, Raven Zero, who is my ASM champion. His knowledge of this game engine is really awesome, and a lot of the custom ASM stuff is through his consultation and work. He's actually unearthed what he calls Apocalypse Gaia, which is what we assume to be the dev's original intention for the final boss of this game. It has, I think, 3 other forms, and it's a longer fight, and it's just really brutal, and it looks like they just kind of abandoned that project and ran out of time and money, and so, you know, that just kind of happened. But he was able to unearth that code, and he debugged it to the point to where it's actually playable now. I think Sye and Solar are actually the 2 that have played it. Actually, I think there are a few other people in the community that have played that final boss as well. Anyway, so in answer to that question, can you hack Aura Barrier to be actually useful? Raven can do it. I'm not going to. I'm not as good as he is. Anyway, so more about Apocalypse Gaia. If Apocalypse Gaia gets to the point where it's ready for prime time, we might include it as a flag you can set in the randomizer to where you can fight Apocalypse Gaia instead of Dark Gaia. So those of you that are gluttons for punishment, we have that potentially coming down the pike. In the meantime, if you want to see it, then by all means, give a follow to both Sye990 and solarcell007, our runners today. They're both really entertaining runners, speedrunners of various games. They also do some casual stuff, some blind stuff. Yeah, they're just great variety stream runners. And both of them have fought Apocalypse Gaia, and I think have VODs of them fighting that final boss, so you can get a preview of what we're talking about here. Sye is in Watermia right now. There are 4 items you can get here. Oh, they're both in Watermia right now. These runs are really converging. I'm excited to see at the end of this run where we end up being as far as time. There's been a lot of routing of this town to make this moment more efficient, because we have to wait for this lily pad to come, and it's on a global timer once you activate that map. Look at that sync. I love it when that happens. This is where you normally go to play a game called Russian Glass, which is kind of like Russian roulette with glasses, and it just adds to the body count. Typically, when you play through this game, if you know the game, you know what I'm talking about. But we skip that and we just condense it to an item you can get from that guy. So we won't see any murders today, unfortunately. Well, let's not talk about that laborer in Frisia. We won't bring that up. That'll be a fine thing. By the way, if you snitch on that laborer in Frisia that they're all talking about, the choices to snitch him out are either yes, I'm a bad person, or snitches get stitches. So I had some fun with the text in this game. There's so much text in this game. I want to update all of it at some point, but there's just so much. So every once in a while, you'll catch a movie quote or something like that. You get a glimpse into the kind of entertainment that Don't Bagumi likes. I'm your Huckleberry. Yeah, we made it so that Jem the Jeweler, who shows up in a bunch of towns, he's supposed to be a master of disguise, and so he always looks like the native NPCs of whatever town he's in. But we developers know that the reason that is that sprites all have to be on the same sprite set, and so except for special cases like Will and special hard-coded situations, you can't have sprites from different sets on the screen at the same time. And so I think that was just the devs' way of getting around that restriction, saying, oh, I'm a master of disguise. I look like whoever I'm a part of, whatever town I'm in right now. So that's a little tidbit about the way this game is coded. Anyway, so the jeweler, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He has an inventory. You collect red jewels and you give it to him. If you give him 50 red jewels in the game, which is all of them, then you get to go to his secret lair and discover that he's actually one of the bosses from Soul Laser. And so that's a neat little secret dungeon boss fight situation. There is one item in his mansion, by the way, and so it could be required that our runners go gather enough red jewels to go to his mansion and get that one item. We also made it so that beating Solid Arm, which is the boss of that area, is an alternate way to get the 6th Mystic Statue. So there's 2 ways to get 6 Mystic Statue. That's not a required statue for this particular seed. They only need statues 2, 3, 4, and 5, as we discovered earlier when we talked to the teacher. But if they needed statue 6, the interesting trade-off with fighting Solid Arm is, he's a pretty tough fight. Oh, did Sye just get Aura Barrier? He looks mad. I think he just got Aura Barrier. Oh, is Solar gonna get it? Is he gonna get it? He's debating. Oh, do I want it? Do I want it? Do I want it? Do I want Earthquaker and maybe speed up that section, or do I want to risk getting Aura Barrier? Oh, he's gonna take the risk. Haha. Alright, well, I think both our runners are going to be resetting now. Just kidding. Aura Barrier can now, yet will never be used. Alright, so I was talking about the jeweler, right? Anyway, all that to say, all of the jeweler's quotes in the game are from the movie Tombstone, and specifically from the character of Doc Holliday. I don't know, I don't know why I did that. It's just, I don't know, it's a nice movie. And I feel like Doc Holliday's a great character. Shoutouts to Val Kilmer. Oh, did they already find Earthquaker in Mountain Temple? You're right, they do have Earthquaker. I'm not sure why they're looking at abilities right now. They certainly don't need them. Okay, so it looks like in the randomizer, Sandfanger, who's the boss of the Great Wall, which is where both of our runners are, that's typically the first boss that people fight because there's not a lot of requirements to get to that area. If you have access to the Great Wall of China, and you have Spin Dash and Dark Friar, then you can access the boss. And it looks like Sye gets there first, so we're going to get to see Trollfanger. Let's get some Prey RNGs in the chat for this boss. This boss has 3 patterns. That side-to-side pattern, which is fine. This egg pattern, which is what we want to see. We want to see more of those, because that allows you to whale a lot of hits on him. And then this third up and down pattern, which is the slowest. So we want to see not a lot of that pattern right there, and we want to see a lot of the egg pattern. Yep. If RNG is bad enough to Sye, then we'll get to see simultaneous boss fights. That'll be fun. Alright, in the room that Solar Cell is in, there's actually, if you climb to the bottom of this room, there's a dark space that you get from defeating a bunch of bosses, but because they already have all the abilities they need, they're going to skip that dark space, which is lovely because that takes forever, especially in extreme mode, to kill all those enemies. All right, we got double fangers. Start off with an egg right away for Solar Cell. It's good for him to see. Anyway, so once they beat Sandfanger, they get the 4th Mystic Statue. They also get plus 3 HP, which is an upgrade that's in one of the rooms in either Great Wall or I think the Angel Dungeon. Oh, GG Sye. On the Sandfinger fight, there's the 4th Mystic Statue. Alright, and that's one of the required statues down. Again, we need statues 2, 3, 4, and 5 for this seed. So they'll be fighting Viper, the vampires, and Mummy Queen. And of course, they're looking for Kara. I don't think we've found Lance's letter, and we haven't gotten to the end of one of the minor dungeons yet, and so we don't know where Kara is. Kara's trapped in a painting. I mentioned that before. But you have to free her in order to beat the game. You use magic dust to do that. Oh, Kara's in Angkor Wat. Okay, that's like the trolliest place she can be, so... Awesome. Yeah, I've just been blabbing on and on about the game, and I've missed certain items here and there. Okay, so thank you, chat, for bringing me up to speed. We do know where Kara is. She's at the end of Angkor Wat. Excuse me. Oh, Spin Dash is so lovely to have where Sye is right now. So Sye is in Angel Dungeon, which is just a lot of these side-to-side rooms. And you don't have Spin Dash at this point of the game, but it's very nice to have it because a lot of these rooms become much easier with those iframes. Bubba. Rip Samlet Seed. Let's talk about Samlet a little bit. Okay, so one of the 5 locations that Kara can be is in the Diamond Mine. And the room that she is in the room with the 3 laborers, and the name of one of the laborers... Oh, speaking of Diamond Mine, there's the elevator key right there on Sye's screen. Anyway, so you get an item from Sam, who's one of the laborers in that room. And I mentioned before when I was talking about the jeweler... Good job threading the needle there, Sye. When I was talking about the jeweler, I mentioned that you can only have sprites from one particular set on the screen at the same time, with some notable exceptions, like the player character, and there are certain items that are available on all screens, like those dark point jewels that fall when you defeat an enemy. Those are on a universal sprite set. But all the sprites, like the enemies and the spears in the dungeons and all that kind of stuff, these are actually all on custom sprite sets that are... Oh, Sye got the aura. That's a required item, and that unlocks shadows for him. Anyway, so... Oh, what was I talking about? All right, so I was talking about sprite sets. Anyway, and so that's why if you play Enemizer, there's an Enemizer game that you can choose. All the dungeon trap items are disabled because they're all on the same sprite sets as the vanilla enemies. And so if you change those enemies around, then you change around, what's going on in those rooms as well. Anyway, so Kara's portrait, which is a part of the Angel Village set, we need to be able to put that in Diamond Mine. But we also need to be able to put Sam there. And they're on different sprite sets, and so how do we deal with that? Well, the way that we decided to deal with that is we turned Sam into Samlet, because Hamlet the pig happened to be on the same sprite set in Angel Village as Kara's painting. And because of the way that the palettes work in the game, he kind of turned into this blue pig thing. And so Samlet has kind of become a mascot for the game. So if Kara is in Diamond Mine, then you get to see Samlet. All right, now we just saw it on Sye's side, but we're seeing it on Solar's side. This is what I call the Highlights Magazine boss. And at the end of Angel Village, there's these series of 2 rooms where, you have to spot the difference. And we've actually been able to randomize this. And so every time you play it, it'll be a different configuration. Different things will be, you really got to pay attention. Different things are different each time you play the game. All right, so both our runners are finishing up their Angel Village experience. I know Sye has I think he's taken more deaths than Solar, but I think just because of the way that the seed is progressing with items, I think he's actually ahead, slightly. It's still very close. I don't think Solar's picked up any items or abilities that Sye doesn't have access to. Nice execution by Sye. We are now in Mew, which is everyone's second favorite dungeon. The gimmick with this dungeon is that you have different layers of water that you can lower by using these Statues of Hope. If you have 2 Statues of Hope and Slider, you can clear out this dungeon. Oh, there's the teapot on Sye's screen. Alright, so in the vanilla game, the teapot is the prize you get at the end of Mount Cress. And that allows you to heal. It's like the spirit of the tears. The tears of the spirits that heals the... I don't know, it's pretty unclear what actually it does. But in the game, it has something to do with showing that Neil's parents are actually Moon Tribe the whole time. Oh my goodness, twist. Anyway, so we use it as one of the travel items in this game. I guess in this game, the Moon Tribe needs to be healed, and they're the ones that use the Sky Garden and things like that. And so, in the Moon Tribe camp, which is near South Cape, if you use the teapot and heal them, then you can use Sky Garden as passage to different parts of the world. And so that's one of the other tribal items. We talked about Lola's letter, which teaches you Morse code. We talked about the memory melody, which restores Neil's memory. We talked about the large roast, which gives you passage from Native's village to Dao. We just talked about the teapot, which allows you to use the Sky Garden to travel. And I think the final item is... What am I missing? Oh, the will. You get the will in the vanilla game from killing a man in Reno just to watch him die. And what that does is that gives you access to the man's treasure of Crux, which are these animals that cross the desert. And so that allows you to move between Watermia and Euro. Pepe Sylvia, yes, I am kidding. Something that my community knows is that I am... Let's see. I'm not the most literal person. I'm pretty heavy on the sarcasm. So earlier I said that Mount Crest was everybody's absolute favorite, and of course that's not true. Alright, so here we have Solar dipping into the pyramid. Now that he has Shadow's form, he can melt down into the pyramid and actually clear this place out. Pyramid has a whopping 12 items, which is over 10% of the entire item pool of the game. And it's another hub-like dungeon where you can go into these different rooms. Different rooms require different forms and different abilities. If you have Shadow and if you have Spin Dash, you can clear out everything. Theoretically, there's one room, the third room over, called the Killer 6, where at the end it's kind of RNG based, whether they troll you or not. It's really difficult, especially in extreme mode where you're essentially in one-hit kill territory right now. You see Sye using the teapot, by the way, to use that travel. And so I imagine both our runners will probably be foregoing the Killer 6 in the pyramid, at least until they absolutely have to, because it's not likely. Well, I don't know how likely it is. Math is hard. But how likely it is for that actually to have a key item. So they're going to skip it and hope that it's an herb or something. Gerard. You almost wish there was a spell for freedom giving him total invincibility. Okay, so we've tried using Aura Barrier in Room 3 for Killer 6. And it's as useless as you thought it would be, because the lasers of the orbs just passed right through aura barrier. It doesn't do anything at all. Fun fact, you actually can use Freedan's Dark Friar ability in that room instead of Shadow if you wanted to. In the Killer 6 room was what we're talking about. I don't find it to be particularly easier, to be honest. Oh, here's where Sye's behind. Okay, so Solar was able to clear out Diamond Mine earlier, and Sye skipped it to do other stuff. And so here we have Sye going back and clearing out Diamond Mine. It's gonna put him a little bit behind Solar. I don't remember them getting anything useful here. Star Sensui. I butchered that. So does killing all the enemies in a room give anything? So because this game is so, because the vanilla game is so linear. Let's see, how do I explain this? Okay, so enemy balance is an issue because you're gathering strength, defense, and health throughout the game, and the enemy strength, health, and defense is scaling accordingly. And because the game is vanilla, the developers didn't have to worry about, you know, balancing the enemies at all. They just had to make the enemies roughly equal to where you were in that part of the game, because you were always going to have the same stats going into particular dungeons. And so the enemies are wildly unbalanced, you know, and so making it to an open world game, we had to really find a way to scale. And what we did was we ended up scaling down all the enemy stats to be in a more manageable range. And so what that does is that means that you also have to balance the number of upgrades that are available to Will. And so the number of upgrades have been scaled down significantly. And it depends on difficulty. Extreme, of course, has the least amount of upgrades available. You only get plus 18 health, and you get no strength upgrades, no defense upgrades. And that's just the way it is. Get good, scrub. But even in normal difficulties, I think extreme difficulties is per boss. There are 6 bosses, and each time you defeat a boss, you get the ungathered upgrades that you missed from the dungeons that are under that boss. And that's the same in the randomizer as well. But okay, so for extreme you get 1 upgrade per boss. In hard mode you get 2 upgrades per boss. In normal mode it's 3 upgrades per boss, and in easy it's 4 upgrades per boss. So in normal mode you're getting 3 times 6, which is 18 upgrades. And that's less than the number of rooms that there are in the game. And so what you do is when you're playing this randomizer, you can hit the start menu, and that gives you access to a map that shows you where all the enemies are on that screen. And sometimes there's a glowing force icon in the corner, and what that shows you is whether or not there's an upgrade in that room, because again, not every room's going to have an upgrade. And if you get the crystal glasses, the black glasses, you're actually able to see from that menu which upgrade it is. You know, so we've tried to find use for every item in this game in a way that's helpful to people running it. Because if you know your way around that room in Angkor Wat that you need the glasses for, and in you know a casual run, the glasses kind of become useless. So we try to give it something else. We did the same thing with the crystal ring, which is again somewhat useless in the game. It does grant you access to the Tower of Babel to allow you to do the boss climb, or the boss rush and the Babel climb to get you the 6th mystic statue. But because it's faster to do solid arm, most speedrunners will opt to do that instead and won't do the boss climb. And so the crystal ring kind of becomes useless as well. But we introduced a mode called Early Firebird, and shoutouts to NY Rambler, who played this game last week and did an exhibition race where he had an Early Firebird seed. And that allows you, you know, if the stars align and you get all the items that you need, you can actually unlock the Firebird attack before you get to Dark Gaia at the end. And it's insanely overpowered, and it's insanely fun. And that requires the crystal ring. So that gives you a little bit more of a use for that item. Another piece of feedback that we've been getting from this game is that there are so many red jewels in the item pool. Like roughly half the item pool is just red jewels, and that only gives you access to at most 7 items you know, and so it gets kind of monotonous, just getting red jewel, all in a row. And so what we did was we created the Red Jewel Madness mode. And what Red Jewel Madness does is it starts you at the max HP, which is 40 hit points. And every time you turn in a red jewel, you lose a hit point. And there are 50 red jewels in the game. And you do get some HP upgrades from rooms and from items and stuff like that. And so it's possible to beat the game, but it is a challenge. So in the beginning of the game, you're really overpowered with health, and you're just tanking everything. But as you're turning in red jewels, you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And yeah, so that's a fun mode that kind of gives a little bit more for red jewels to do. This is a Dark Gaia seed, but you can also have a red jewel hunt seed, where instead of trying to beat Dark Gaia, your only objective is to gather and turn in enough red jewels based on the difficulty to beat the game. Ooh, 2 deaths side by side. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so doing a Red Jewel Madness run. Maybe shout outs to Bubba S. Walter, who's in chat right now. Yeah, there he is. Red Jewel Madness pairs well with Red Jewel Hunt. So that's a fun mode where, in order to beat the game, you have to collect red jewels, but every red jewel you collect drains your health, and so it makes the game harder. So that's just a fun experience. We're working on some more improvements to the randomizer. My big project right now is an entrance randomizer. I kind of cut my teeth on randomizers with A Link to the Past, and I love entrance randomizer. I just love the meta of it. You know, just being able to having to keep track of where everything is and how to get from place to place. So I really want there to be an entrance randomizer for this game. It's a ton of work, my goodness. Lots of tedious work too. But I've been working steadily at it, been chiseling away at that. So that's the next big upgrade. We're also looking to create an open mode, which makes it so that, you know, all those 5 items that open up intercontinental travel are essentially all activated at the start. And so once you start a seed, you have access to the entire world, and then it becomes super meta. You know, it's all about just routing choices and things like that, which really, really excites me. So those are coming down the pike. Open mode is actually going to be pretty easy. It's an idea that came up recently, and it's going to be very easy to implement. And so that'll, you know, stay tuned for that. It'll be very soon. So join our Discord, by the way, if you're interested in Illusion of Gaia and are in the random community. The community is awesome. Being a fan of Illusion of Gaia automatically makes you a good person, and so we've collected a lot of just awesome folks in the community, and it's grown quite a bit. So look us up on Discord and yeah, join us there. We'd love to have you. Anyway, so you know we have a playtester channel where people can take a crack at, you know, we're constantly working on updates, so there's usually something new to test out. The most recent thing we put out was a boss shuffle, which shuffles the statues and the bosses that you get at the end of each dungeon. So that adds another layer to it. Oh, Kamikaze, thanks for putting that link. Yeah, join us in Discord. You know, we'd love to have you. All right, so now we have enough. Looks like Solar has enough crystal balls. You need 4 crystal balls in order to defeat Viper. And shout outs to Mr. Freet for finding new strats to make this boss a little quicker. Shout outs to Solar for messing it up and not executing it well, but that's okay. All right, so this will get him statue 2. Now he could have, if he wanted to waste a little bit of time, he could have done this fight as Shadow. He has aura, but there's no easy place to change. You need to find a dark space, a particular kind of dark space. Certain dark spaces allow you to change forms, and the one in the foyer here in Sky Garden doesn't allow you to change forms. And so if you wanted to change to a more powerful form, Shadow, you do 3 damage to bosses, where Will, you only do 1 damage. So it makes boss fights a little faster. But in order to do that, he would have to go deep into the dungeon and change and then come back, and that's just too much time. But it is pretty satisfying and fun to do boss fights with Shadow. if you go back and find NY Rambler's run of this in this event from last week, I believe he had Firebird when he fought Viper, and that was like a 10-second fight. It was a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, he just wailed Firebird attacks on Viper and rip Bird. Okay, so we have Solar cleaning out the Seaside Palace, which is kind of a maze location. You gotta kind of know your way around. It's easy to get lost. Sye is still cleaning up the pyramid. Excuse me. Okay, so it looks like from chat that we have all the statues that we need, the Rama statues and the Hope statues to beat Mew. And so there's that. I think, I don't know if we have all the hieroglyphs or not, but you need all 6 hieroglyphs and the Father's Journal. And the reason why you need Father's Journal, it tells you the order of the hieroglyphs. There's 6 of them in a particular order you got to put in the pyramid to advance to the boss. In the speedrun, everybody knows the order, and so you don't need Father's Journal. I believe you get Father's Journal at the same time you get Lola's letter, and so neither of them ever show up in a speedrun. But of course, we were able to shuffle the order every time, and so you do need Father's Journal unless you want to try all 720 possible combinations and do it that way. There are some other cool things we've been able to randomize along those lines in this game. One of which are the glowing tile in the Inca ruins. There's a room full of tiles, and you have to play a melody, and then one of the tiles will glow, and you have to stand on that tile for 10 seconds, and that allows you to progress. Now, of course, if you know which tile it is, you can just go and stand on it. You don't actually need to go get the melody, and speedrunners don't. They just go stand on the tile, and that's that. But in this run, we were able to randomize which tile that is. Actually do need the melody to see which tile. And a fun fact for no one is that was actually the first element of the game that I was able to randomize. Before we randomized anything at all, that was the first challenge that I kind of took on. It's like, how can I randomize that room? Solar, by the way, taking on the true final boss of the game, which are those 2 bugs on the wall in Angkor Wat that you have to kill to progress. For some reason, those bugs in the game are way more powerful than the other bugs in that dungeon. I don't know why those are particularly overpowered, but especially in extreme mode, they're just really... Yeah, you can see that this bug is not as strong as those other bugs were that Solar is fighting right now. So for whatever reason, and in extreme mode, those bugs are just insane. It's like they hit you once and you're dead. Both of them are shooting at you at the same time. If you hit one of them, these worms come out and try to kill you. It's just, it's just really, really rough. But Solar making quick work of them, so GG. Yeah, Bubba, you can stand in the corner. You still have to dodge the shots that are coming from their chest. But yeah, there are a lot of interesting rando-specific strats that, again, have kind of come just, they're not of any use in the vanilla run, only in the randomizer. For instance, oh, that RNG from Sye there getting you death. In the Great Wall, the first dark space that you access, you're actually supposed to skip over it, get spin dash, and then spin your way back. Well, the way that it works in the randomizer is that you can actually use Friedan's reach with his sword to get back to that area, even if you don't have spin dash. And then it was discovered that you can actually use Will to reach to do kind of a sprint glitch, same one that you do in Inca Ruins to do a sequence break. And so there's just all the, new strats are being found all the time that are just specific to the randomizer. So it's been really a privilege and really fun to kind of see new life breathed into this game and new things be found. That wouldn't have been found otherwise. Okay, so Solar is going through Anchor Wat right now, and this is where Kara is, I believe. Does anyone know if they have the magic dust? If they have the magic dust, then this is a one and done, and Solar won't have to come back. But if he doesn't have magic dust and he's here, that probably means that he's run out of options. He's looking for items, and he just needs to get the items from this dungeon and hopes he finds something good. But if he has a magic dust, then he can just clear it and won't have to double dip Anchor Wat, which is nice. Sye is finding the will, which is one of the travel items we talked about before. That allows you to... Oh, Solar in trouble. He made it work. He made it work. One of the items that allow you to travel between different continents. Oh, I forgot to check to see if he had... I didn't see magic dust in Solar's inventory, so I think he might just be here for the items. Sye looks like he's trying to decide what to do right now. Decides to go talk to Neil. He has magic dust? Okay. Well, that's good. Here's the room that you typically need black glasses for. And again, speedrunners know their way around the room, and I think that's their last hieroglyph. So I think that's close to go mode, if it's not go mode already. We don't have the trackers up on screen, at least I can't see them. That's go mode? Yeah, it seemed like it was. So that's not bad. 105 in. This may come in underestimate. Yeah, that's an incredible pace to be in go mode. Only have 3 bosses left. Typically these seeds, a really decent time from a seasoned speedrunner would be about, you can count on about 2 hours. I think because it's a randomizer, it's hard to estimate for an event such as this. Sye going in to fight Viper right now, by the way. Oh yeah, they fought Viper, so they only have 2 bosses left. So, there's a lot of wild variation, but a decent time is 2 hours. I think Sye once got like a 145 on a seed like this. But now we're only at 106, and we're already in go mode. We only have 2 bosses left. Anybody know how to run any SNES games that we can use to fill the time? Yeah, Mummy and Vamps are left. Nice fight by Sye. Good job. Yeah, I think we estimated 230, and there's Kara, and she gets saved, and that's it. So, yeah, I think we estimated what, 230 for this maybe, and knowing that most seeds are about 2, and it looks like we're going to be about 130, so we're an hour off. Sorry to the Fiesel and everybody else who's running this event, but we're gonna have some time to fill. Maybe we can get another seed in or something. Apocalypse Gaia, huh? Lahook asks, what does saving Kara do? Saving Kara is just one of the things you have to do in order to trigger the end of a Dark Gaia seed. So Dark Kara, or freeing Kara, gives you access to the Firebird. It theoretically gives you access to the Firebird attack. Because in the game you combine with Kara, and that's what gives you the Firebird, and so we made it so that rescuing Kara from the painting is a requirement to face and defeat Dark Gaia. Yeah, so in order to beat a Dark Gaia seed, you have to collect the Mystic statues. And that's depending on the seed. When you roll a seed for Dark Gaia, you can specify the number of statues that are required. You can actually roll a 0 statue seed if you want to, where you don't have to fight any bosses if you don't want to. You can also specify the number from 1 to 6, and it just tells you randomly which of the 6 Mystic statues you need to get. Or you can just have it set to random, to where it can be anywhere from 0 to 6 statues, and you just have to roll with the punches, and that's how that goes. But in every Dark Gaia seed, you have to unlock Shadow by finding the aura, and you have to free Kara from the painting. So that's what unifies every Dark Gaia seed. You have to do at least those two things. And again, shoutouts to early Firebird mode, which gives you access to... Oh, on side screen, we have custom text that I made just for him. Stop calling us Wizrobes, Sye. In the game, those are actually called flashers. But Sye always calls them Wizrobes. And they are totally Wizrobes, but... So yeah, again, you notice that the custom sprites that are happening right now, Sye's Will looks like he hit puberty a little early. You know, has a goatee and brown hair, like Sye does. And then Solar's Will is shaved bald, which Solar is as well. And so, as a thank you for helping out with playtesting so much and for being a part of the exhibition race back in, when was that? It was like May or June or something like that. We had a showcase race on RPG Limit Break where four of the playtesters showcased 2 different modes of the game. And as a thank you for that, I made them custom sprites. And when I made the custom sprite for Sye, I also snuck in that little text for him. So we have Solar now fighting Mummy Queen, which is the second to last boss that they need. Looks like Sye is in Muse, so we may see Sye go after the vampires first before he goes to Mummy Queen. I'm not sure if he has all the Rama statues he needs yet. I think they do. But anyway, so now see if the Queen gives him good RNG. We want to see those ring patterns. Those ring patterns are fast. Oh, there's a non-ring pattern, so that's a little slow. Oh, he didn't finish Muse. Maybe he doesn't have everything he needs. All right, not a bad fight from Solar. There's Statue 5. Only thing we're missing now is Statue 3 from Mew. It's time to go fight the vampires. Now that he has Shadow, I think he should be able to fight the vampires with Shadow, which would allow him to make pretty quick work of them, I think. Now, it is possible, because it is Chaos Mode. Chaos Mode in Logic... Oh, Solar's going to the Jeweler's Mansion. So this is the secret dungeon in the game. It gives you 1 item. Maybe we're not in Go mode. Maybe we're missing something that we've all missed. But I can't think of why he would go in here. Because he doesn't need Statue 6. This is an alternate way to get the 6th Mystic Statue in this randomizer. Ah, that Anchor Watt music, though. So maybe he does need an item. We'll see what the mansion has in store for him. There are 2 Hope statues, Gerard. Yeah. Anyway. Was I in the middle of talking about something I don't really recall? Anyway, there's a lot of lag in the Jeweler's Mansion. It's because you have this overlay layer of these Disneyland Haunted Mansion ghosts, you know, going over the top of everything. And then you also have these enemies that are actually pretty RNG heavy, or execution heavy from the CPU point of view. Like those I get. Oh, there it is, the last Hope statue. So now he's in Go mode, and he's doing a little angry dance because the mansion was required. No one likes for the mansion to be required, but it definitely could be. Okay, so now we're in Go mode. He's gonna go back to probably... Oh, I see. He's gonna go by way of Seaside Palace. Oh no, he's gonna go that way. Yeah, see, the way that we've done intercontinental movement in this game, there's a lot of ways to get around once you have all the... So, keeping it all straight in your head and determining moment to moment, you know, what the fastest way is to get around, you know, is an interesting challenge. All right, so it looks like Solar's probably, you know, significantly pulling ahead right now. We will see. There's the one dark space right before this fight that, if everything goes well, it should allow him to change into Shadow. Oh yeah, Chaos Logic. That's what I was talking about. Because it's Chaos Logic, pretty much any dark space can have any ability. There are some restrictions that make the game more beatable in less extreme difficulties. Oh, he hasn't even been to Mew yet. Oh, that was a nice situation from Solar. He was able to skip going into Mew before he had all the items to complete it. So that's going to be a nice time save. Having some trouble with these golems here, though. Ooh. Nail biter for sure. Okay. Found his way out of it. So it is possible. There are two dark spaces in this dungeon. The first one that's off to the left when you first get the first Statue of Hope cleared, that's always going to be open in normal modes, because technically I think the game wants you to use Dark Friar in order to get past this one golem statue that's at the top of this ramp. And so we had to keep that open so that you could change into Freedan to be able to use Dark Friar to get past that area. So that's always open in normal difficulties, and then the other one can have an ability. But there have been times where they've both had abilities. Now, if a dark space has an ability in it, what that means is that you can't use that later on in the game to change forms. You're just locked out. And so there was actually one seed that I think Solar played, where he had to defeat the vampires, but both of the dark spaces in Mew, because it was Chaos mode, had abilities. And so he was forced to fight the vampires as Will. So that's unlikely that that's going to happen, but it could happen. Oh yeah, Croc's asking about... Hey Croc, shout outs to that guy. So yeah, Chaos mode, it has some other things as well. In both beatable and Chaos mode, you can actually be locked out of certain parts of the game. So you'll be granted access to all the items that will allow you to beat the seed, but you may be cut out of certain places. But with Chaos mode, the way that works is that having abilities in certain dark spaces can completely lock out certain dungeons that you can even complete. Like, for instance, the dark space in the underground tunnel behind Edward's prison, you have to turn into either Freedan or Shadow to have the reach to be able to reach a switch to progress through that dungeon. And there are 2 items behind that. And so if that happens to have an ability, which will only happen in Chaos mode, be open for any other mode. But in Chaos mode, they could have an ability, and if that's the case, then you can't change into Freedan, and you can't access those 2 items, and so the game just locks those items out and won't put a required item there. And like, same thing with Inker Ruins. There's one dark space in the beginning that you have to have Freedan in order to progress. And if that has an ability, you actually lose out on being able to fight the boss, getting access to the gold ship, getting all the all the items in Inker Ruins. That's possible to happen, and it's happened before, where you're just locked out of an entire dungeon. Yeah, Hurricane, go. The Hulk gave an incredible any % run of this game. Just casually pulling off a sub 2 hour, which is a rite of passage for a lot of speedrunners of this game. But he's like, yeah, sub 2 hours, pretty good, in typical Hulk fashion. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch that run. So yeah, definitely go back and check out the vanilla run of this game. There's actually there's a lot of IOG in SNES Super Stars this year, because there's also a randomizer solo run that was run and commentated by NY Rambler that you can also catch as well. So if you're a fan of IOG, there's a lot of material to go back and check out. Oh yeah, they never even went into Inca ruins in this seed. Yeah, this is a jet seed for sure. Yeah, or the prison. Yeah, they just skipped entire sections of this game, and they just happened to get all the items that they need. Hey, that's randomizer for you. So yeah, if you weren't around earlier when I plugged the, if you're interested in this project, feel more than welcome to join our Discord. There's almost always some new feature to playtest. If you're interested in playtesting, you can suggest new features if you want. It's kind of a inside joke how lazy I am, and so my answer for a lot of stuff is like I'm too lazy to do that, but a lot of times I end up going and doing it anyway. So this has just been such a fun project to work on. So I like adding new features to the game and making it fun. And some great developers have come on board to help me with various aspects of it. Again, shout outs again to Raven Zero, is an assembly code master and is just really interested in this game and has really learned how the engine of this game works. Shout outs to Apocalypse Gaia, who is not an actual person, but is the secret final boss to IOG. I don't know if you guys knew about this. I mentioned it early on for those that were on early on in the run, but Apocalypse Gaia is the true final boss of the game. And Raven Zero was able to uncover it in the code and was able to debug it to the point to where it can actually be played and has been played. Both of our runners on their Twitch channels have showcased Apocalypse Gaia, and eventually we're hoping to fold that into the randomizer as a potential setting you can choose. Do you want to fight Apocalypse Gaia at the end, or do you want to be surprised? Okay, so we keep thinking that they're in go mode, but we keep seeing Solar look for items. He's now in the underground tunnel, which is behind the prison in Edward's castle, gathering items. So I'm... Uh-oh. I think he just locked himself in there. Did he lock himself in that box? I think he did. Oh, no, okay, he can hit the switch. I've never seen that happen before, so I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to play out. So they must be missing an item. Maybe they're missing a hieroglyph, or maybe Father's journal. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that still needs to be gotten. Yeah, because we freed Kara from Angkor Wat. We've got those 3 mystic statues. We have Shadow with Kara. Oh wait, hieroglyphs? What am I thinking? He just fought the Mummy Queen. Of course it's not hieroglyphs. Yeah, there must be a Rama statue missing. Okay, so... Vanilla mushroom drops. Sye is angry that he has to continue through this dungeon because he actually got an item that helps him progress more through the dungeon. Oh, thanks, Bubba, for looking at Solar's channel and looking at the tracker. Alright, Rama statues. Do they need both statues or just one? I thought I saw one at some point. Okay, so maybe we won't be underestimated after all, because, yeah, like Mr. Freeze said, if he gets trolled now and we have to search high and wide for this one item, then it's going to be a while. Alright, dipping back into Diamond Mine. He must have the elevator key now. Oh, Sye has both. Okay, well, Sye went here, so maybe this is where he gets it. Because I remember Sye coming back with the elevator key and doing this wing of it. So it's possible that he finds this last Rama statue here that he needs. Elevator music. Yeah, Sye hasn't been to the jeweler's mansion yet, so he still needs to go there to get his last statue of hope. Okay, so this must be the room. This room that Solar's in right now, this is a very execution-heavy room. Just lots of movement back and forth and lots of RNG enemies that, you have to kind of juke around and get a feel for. Like that enemy right there is a troll. Red Jewel. Mr. Freet says Sye also needs a hieroglyph. Yeah, Sye hasn't fought the Mummy Queen yet, so it's entirely possible that he needs the hieroglyph to get past there. Yeah, this has been an interesting seed, Kamikaze. Again, that's randomizer for you. I wanted to take this opportunity to shout out. We call him Apo. Apocalypsum? I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He's French. That's the best I can pull off as far as what I believe a French pronunciation of his handle would be. But he coded the auto tracker, the emo tracker for the game. If you get on emo tracker, you can get a tracker for this randomizer. And I don't know if the auto tracker is in production or not, but he actually, he's a madman. We call him Mad Cow, but he was actually able to code a tracker that, I mean, we all know how auto trackers work. It looks at your RAM values and tracks in real time, and that's what both Sye and Solar are using for this run. But it does things like, when you open the Father's Journal, or when you turn it in at the pyramid, then the order of the hieroglyphs shows up on the auto tracker so that you can put them in the correct order. I can't. It's just really been an enhancement of the experience for the runners of this game. So I wanted to shout out another developer on the team for the Illusion of Gaia randomizer. And while I'm shouting out developers, let's shout out Brian W., who is the developer who actually put this up on the web. You can access this randomizer on the web. iogr.app is the website that you go to generate a seed for this game. And before Brian came along, it was just a downloadable executable file. And if you had Windows, you had to get good at Python and actually run the Python scripts, raw in order to run the randomizer. Oh, there's Sye going into the mansion, so he'll find his hope statue here. I imagine we'll probably see a little angry dance from him at the end of this too. Anyway, so now it's hosted online. Again, iogr.app. Go check it out. You will not be disappointed. Or you may be disappointed. I'm not sure what your expectations are. Yeah, Brian is a good lad. Oh, Gerard, Solo's gonna be mad when he finds the statue. Where's which is it in this dungeon? Is it in Crest? Yeah. Technically, I mean, to be more precise, you don't necessarily have to have learned Python. You have to just know how to do shell to the point to where you could call Python scripts, which is not the same as knowing Python, but still not the most user-friendly for non-PC users. And even for PC users, Windows Defender didn't like the executable. Something having to do with PyInstaller, which is the compiler that you use to... Oh, Sye taking a death in the mansion. It's unfortunate. Yeah, like I guess there have been some viruses that were made with PyInstaller, and so Windows Defender decided anything made with PyInstaller, we're going to assume it's a virus. And so a lot of people got, the executable bug got flagged, and so we had to go through all this rigmarole to try to make it so that you can trick your PC into thinking that it's safe. Even though I was putting Trojans on everyone's PC. I mean, not that at all. Anyway, so Brian came along and hosted it on the web, and it's legit and amazing, and just brought a legitimacy to, like I have a degree in computer science and programming, but I'm not really in a programming profession right now. This is just, so I was kind of rusty with my programming and stuff, and Brian came in and made it all look good, and work well and stuff like that. So shout outs to that guy. Sye's having a rough time in the mansion. Press F in chat to pay your respects. I'm getting the viruses just by watching this. Thanks for the literal read on what I said, Bubba. I appreciate it. Oh yeah, we're talking about herbs. Okay, so yeah, another thing that the difficulty determines is what herbs do in the game. Normal difficulty is the same as vanilla game, at least the US vanilla. Herbs heal 8 hit points. In easy, you get a full heal, which is what happens in the Japanese version of this game. There are a lot of little interesting differences in the Japanese version of the game between US, and that's one of them. Another one is that Viper, the sprite looks super awesome in the Japanese version. Looks like this big falcon dude. It's really cool. So check that out. Anyway, and then in hard difficulty, herbs heal 4 HP. And then in extreme, they only heal 2 HP. So they're largely useless, especially when enemies are balanced such that they're dealing 8 to 10 damage to you every time. Maybe if you eat 4 of them, you get an extra hit. But yeah. Anyway, so herbs in extreme are largely useless. Okay, so Sye got his last hope statue, which allows him to progress through Mew. Does that mean that Sye is in go mode? Okay, so Sye has to kill the Mummy Queen, which Solar has already done. But I don't think Solar has found the last Rama statue. Yeah, so Solar has the vampires left in Mew, and you need both Hope statues, both Rama statues, to get through. You can actually get through without Slider, which can be surprising. There's only one item that's locked behind Slider and Mew, which was something interesting. I assumed that the Slider would be required to beat the game because you get Slider in that dungeon in the vanilla game. Alright, so Sye is going after Mummy Queen, who's already trolling him by staying up there and throwing bricks down at him. Wasted some time there with RNG. Oh, is Solar going in to do the Killer 6? That must be what he's doing now. I don't think we've seen the Killer 6 yet, so I think Solar's going to be disappointed. Yep, there he goes. Alright, now we get to show off the Killer 6, which is... The room's so notorious it gets its own name in the speedrun community. There are these 6 orbs that stand in this formation. And in extreme, you're pretty much in one-hit kill territory in the randomizer. So I don't even think you can take a single hit. So it has to be perfect execution, a little bit of luck, and we'll see how this goes. Yeah, we thought he was finished 30 minutes ago. Yeah, I wish we had the tracker up on screen, but I mean, it is what it is. Then we can see what they have. Oh. Sye's a little angry at having missed that cycle. There we go. Rip Mummy Queen. Okay, so both runners now have the same statues. We only have the vampires left for both. I don't remember seeing if Sye freed Kara or not. I think he may have to go through Anchor Watch to do that. I think that's probably what he's going to go do now. Sye did free Kara. Okay. Thank you, chat, for keeping me honest. I appreciate it. Oh, he's making his way back to Mew now. All right, so Sye might actually pull this out. Man, randomizers are so much fun. They really are. Just you know, seeing how one little thing can just change everything. Well, Dumberdist, it would be cool if you could use Firebird early in the game. I agree. Which is why we created an early Firebird, which allows you to do exactly that. Solar making quick work of the Killer 6. Good job. GG. But yes, there is an early Firebird mode that can unlock the Firebird attack before you get to Dark Gaia, which is super OP and a lot of fun. That was a flawless Killer 6. And he gets a red jewel for his efforts. Oh, Solar is salty right now, I bet. Yeah, he's trying to decide where to... Yeah, he's looks like he's at a loss. He's like, where do I go? What do I have? What can I do? Yeah, it's just the nature of randomizer. Looking for that one item. It's like, what did I miss? Yeah, I don't even remember where Sye picked all that up. Oh, it was in the Vanilla Rama location? Alright, well, Sye... Okay, so Sye is turned into Shadow. He's on his way to vampires. Yep, there are the two Rama statues. Alright. Good luck, Solar. Alright, now there's this... He's showing off this nice aura glitch, which... if you hit attack at the same time, or I think a frame before you activate the aura... Ooh, that's an unfortunate death right there. The lady was... Oh, he's going back for Shadow. I don't blame him. He was one hit away from killing the lady, too. Anyway, so if you hit attack and then one frame later activate the aura, then you can be dealing continual damage as you melt an aura. So you have invisibility frames, but you're dealing continual damage, and so runners abuse that a lot in speedruns when possible. You think it was Snake Game? I don't see Solar skipping Snake Game, but he might have. Okay, take 2 for Sye. Yeah, Snake Game is another thing that we randomized in this game, at least the length of it. In the vanilla game, you have to hit... you have 60 seconds to hit, I think, maybe 30 snakes or something like that. And so you can get anywhere from 10 to 60 seconds to complete that game in this randomizer. And the difficulty that you choose... Excuse me. Controls in that time how many snakes are required to get the item. That's a relatively recent development in the randomizer. Bald Will is terrifying. Yep, that's the custom sprite we made for Solar. Alright, GG Sye. Vampires down. Yeah, it looks like if Sye goes straight to Dark Gaia after this, then we're looking at probably like a 146, 147, I think. We also had to, by the way, we had to move around how the maps work at the end of that dungeon, because in the vanilla game, you actually get the statue before you fight the vampires. And so in the earliest playtesting versions of this randomizer, we were on the honor system. Before I figured out how to change all that around, I said, look, you can technically just grab the mystic statue and leave without fighting the vampires, but don't do that. And then later on, we were able to make it. Oh, so Sye's going off to Dark Gaia now. But we actually made it to where you have to fight the vampires and then you get the statue. Spoon! All right, so there's a random text right there. Before you go off to fight the comet, you get a random catchphrase from a superhero, and that superhero is the Tick. Yeah. Man, looks like Solar just happened to miss that one item, and it just really made him stuck. All right, so now we get to see Dark Gaia, the comet. And yes, the comet has a face. No one knows why, but here it is. Yeah, Solar was ahead for the whole seed, and it's just one item that just is hanging him up. All right, so after Sye is done with this fight, or with this phase. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. So he's doing this phase, and then we'll see the real Dark Gaia. We're hoping for a 3 cycle. It takes perfect execution and a little bit of luck. So this could be 3 or 4 cycles. And it's RNG depending on when she opens her mouth. And when she opens her mouth is... Oh, that's perfect RNG right there to start off with. Shoutouts to this final boss music. Pretty amazing stuff. There's not a bad track in this. I can't believe I've gotten through this whole run without commenting on the music very much. The composer for this game, this is the only game that he ever did. And it's kind of a shame because I love the music in this game. Everyone has their favorite dungeon. Mine's Angkor Wat. I know. Oh, 1 hit away from a 3 cycle. All right, Sye. Clutch. You can do it. Oh, did Solar have his epiphany? He remembered where he has to go now? Man, that's really frustrating to be in that situation. Oh. GG Sye. Alright, that's the illusion of Gaia Rando. But yeah, the music. It's so good, and I have a little bit of musical training, and I feel like having that training just helped me appreciate even more. You know, just how well the music is put together in this game. All right, GG Sye, good job. We have some custom credits at the end here. So I think he might let these run. All right, so I missed it? Did Solar get his Rama statue, and he's going in now? Anyway, it's been such an incredible project. I've said that before, but this is just a whim I had back in February. Again, I'm a fan of A Link to the Past randomizer. I really like Zelda 2 randomizer, which is kind of where my handle comes from, Don't Bagumi. It's a character from that game. And Illusion of Gaia was one of my favorite games growing up. And just one day, I'm like, is there a randomizer for this game? And I looked it up, and there wasn't one. And I thought, well, maybe I could make one. I've never done any game programming before. I don't know. Just here's your PSA to follow your dreams. It's like if there's something you want to do and you don't know how to do it, just go do it. The internet's an awesome resource. There's all kinds of people. Shout outs to Mana Freak. Mana Freak is a developer, and he actually created a tool for this game that that's to be used by developers to mod it. It's called Gaia the Creator. Go check that out. That's a lot of fun. And that has been just an amazing resource. I said it in the credits, I'll say it again. This project would not have happened without his work and his tool. It's just been a great... Ooh, that's nice RNG there with the vamp. Ooh, very nice vampire fight from Solar. Anyway, so that's been really great to see that. Someone had already done all this work and allowed me to do this, and collaborating with Mana Freak and through him is how I found Raven Zero, who's helped me with a lot of the ASM stuff. Yeah. All right, so here's some of the custom text. Shh, here, have some bacon. So spoiler alerts, in the vanilla game, Hamlet comes to a somewhat crispy demise. And so we make a little reference to that there in the credits. We don't get to see it in the randomizer. Alright, so Solar is now ready to face Dark Gaia at Sye's heels. Let's see, are we going to have... Let's see. I don't know if we're going to have interviews or not. We're kind of talking as we do this, but yeah, so you can see from this list of contributors and testers just how many people have been involved in the project. I'm not a runner of this game. I'm barely above casual just in my own gameplay of it. So having a group of people that love this game and have played this game and know how the mechanics of this game work, and are also gluttons for punishment enough to put up with early versions of this randomizer where the unbeatable seeds and game-ending bugs and all kinds of stuff, and just you couldn't ask for a better team of people. And I feel like just the love of this game just runs deep. It's not the most popular game, but people that know it and love it really love it. There's just something charming about it, something just really neat. Really neat about that. Yeah, shout outs to everybody on that list. Everybody who made it onto that list, there was something specific that they did. It's like every name has some kind of bug that was found attached to it. Some of them are other developers of other randomizers who helped, kind of collaborate. And when I was just starting out and had no idea where to start, didn't even know what ASM stood for, that's not exaggeration, but Hulk, I did something with my life. Yeah, shout outs to Hulk. He was, I think he was the first person I reached out to when I first started this, because he had the 100%, still does, world record in every category of every game, essentially. And so I reached out to him. It's like, hey, I want to make a randomizer for Illusion of Gaia. And he made a randomizer for Soul Blazer, which is another game in this trilogy. And just him being a speedrunner, and he's just an amazing guy. All told, watch one of his runs, watch all of his runs. I think he had a whole block in this SNES Super Stars where he just ran game after game after game. But yeah, anyway, so he was really supportive. It's funny, the skepticism that everybody would their initial reaction is, wow, really, Illusion of Gaia, you want to randomize that game, that linear, whatever, how are you gonna pull that off? And I had, Solar, that was unfortunate. Anyway, so
I think the skepticism is well founded. It ended up being a huge challenge, and it's been a fun challenge, but it has been a challenging game to break, and super rewarding. But yeah, the Hulk was one of the earlier speedrunners, and that was back when I think he played the very first seed that I ever made, and it was I think one of them at least was unbeatable. And it was because there was a bug in the logic, and it was double counting the number of red jewels you had collected, and I felt really bad for that. But okay. All right, so it looks like we're ready for. Okay, it looks like we're gonna interview with Sye. See if I can figure out on Discord. All right, let's see if I can drag him in here. Oh, I see. Here we go. All right, Sye, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hey, look at me! I figured something out. Yes, I did develop a randomizer, and I don't Discord, so it's all fine. So, man, what a race! How you feel?
That was probably the nicest seed you've ever given us, Bagu.
Well, I try. I mean, it's hard to troll 100, 24/7 all the time. Sometimes you gotta throw people a bone. Oh, I see. Here we go. All right, Sye. Yeah, that was a pretty nice seed, and you routed it very well. Look at me! I figured something out.
Yeah, there was a few times where I was kind of questioning if I was had a proper route going, but.
So, man, what a race!
Are
we hearing an echo?
You might be. I don't hear anything on my end. I just have the game playing in the background. Shouldn't be anything else going on.
I'm just hearing my voice double. Is that me? I apologize, everybody.
Olin, I know what the problem is. Give me a second here. I will. Who's got audio going? It's Solar, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
there
all right.
we go.
That was me. Okay, that was my fault. I see what happened. Okay, we are back. Okay, so yeah, it's a pretty nice seed. Yeah, Solar ended up getting trolled, and his last Rama statue just, eluded him. And so he spent a lot of time, we were talking in chat about, this might be like a 130, just because it looked like Solar was really on pace to get there. But just that last Rama statue just couldn't quite make it.
Yeah, this seed definitely had the potential to be a 130. Crest really wasn't even necessary.
Yeah, did you ever go into the underground tunnel behind Edward's prison? I don't think you ever even went in there. Yeah, or Inca ruins?
Nope, no Inca ruins, no Edward's prison. Killer 6 was not required either, which I am grateful for.
Yes. Not required, but we still got to see it showcased in this race. So that's lovely. Yeah, so when Solar was desperate for locations, he went back to Killer 6. I think he gave the little angry dance when he got a red jewel.
Oh no, there was a red jewel at the end.
There's a red jewel at the end. At least it wasn't nothing. I didn't mention this in the commentary, but there are 2 nothing items. In the game, in Mew, in the Dungeon of Mew, there are 2 chests that are empty, and they're just there to teach you the gimmick of where the statues are looking and where you need to find items and stuff. And so we just left those empty items in the game. So when you play the randomizer, there are 2 chests or 2 items that are just gonna give you nothing at all. So that's fun.
Oh yeah, those are always nice to find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially
it's
in a
nice.
very trolly spot.
It's nice for the people that are watching, at least.
Oh, of course.
Anyway, so thank you so much for I gave you and Solar a lot of appreciation during the run. Oh, there we go, Solar. GG. I wonder if we can get him in here too. But
yeah, GG, Solar.
Yeah, so 143, 153. Solar took an unfortunate death at Dark Gaia as well. Yep, so there's Illusion of Gaia Randomizer. Gave you and Solar a lot of appreciation, because I have a lot of appreciation for you and for other people in the community. Just made this possible. This would not be what it is if it were not for you and for Solar and for Mr. Freed and for DJ Tifa Hart and for all the people on that long list at the end of the credits. You know, I was saying everybody on the credits, there's some bug or some issue that was fixed because of that person. You know, and I don't know if that's a testament to how bad I am at programming or whatever it is, but it's certainly a testament to just how great everyone has been and how much grace they've had for the process. And again, I think the love of Evolution of Gaia just runs deep in people that have a love of this game, and it's been just a pleasure tapping into that community and having a small part in it. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about this particular run, Sye? And any moments that you thought were frustrating or fun or?
Yeah, having to grab Aura Barrier to complete Great Wall.
Oh, that's right, because you had to turn into. Oh, that's right. Okay, so there was an ability. That's why you guys took that ability. Okay, so there's an ability. There's a part in Great Wall where you have to be Freedan in order to use Dark Friar to progress through that dungeon. And they could have backtracked and gone to this other dark space and turned into Freedan there. So that was possible. But in order to turn into Freedan, the fastest way was to actually get Aura Barrier and then turn into there. So yeah, okay, that explains it. I was kind of perplexed why that happened, because you both ended up doing that.
Yeah.
So now we have actual documented evidence, ladies and gentlemen, of Sye990 in an Illusion of Gaia randomizer seed picking up Aura Barrier when he didn't need to. So
yes, let's just rub that in now.
So there you go, universe. I think your reputation is shattered. I don't think anybody can take you seriously as a runner or frankly as a person anymore. So.
Hey, I didn't use it.
Well, yeah, no one uses Aura Barrier. I think I should think if you use Aura Barrier, you hardlock the game. I think I put that in there recently.
We'll get Raven on that.
We'll get Raven on that. Oh, that cuts deep. That cuts deep, brother. I don't know how I feel about that. Oh man. So let's see what other parts of this. Yeah, it's all a blur for me. What else is noticeable about this seed? Pretty good starting location. We talked about random start. And I think starting in Sky Garden is probably the easiest place to start.
It really is. You have quite a few checks that you can do while you're there, and it's not the most difficult to get out of.
Right.
At least we didn't start off in Anchor Walk Garden.
Oh, Anchor Walk. What is it about that location? I feel like so many seeds just start you there. It's almost like somebody. Yeah, it's almost like whoever programmed it maybe made it biased to troll people and put them there.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but
Yeah, I don't know. I have words for them. But okay, so let's see. Do we want to? Yeah, I don't think Solar's coming in. So yeah, I guess that's it. That's Illusion of Gaia. Again, go to. Please join us on Discord. We'd love to have you. Such a friendly group of people. Everybody loves the game. Everybody loves each other. Everyone's super helpful too. There's kind of a big learning curve with this randomizer. You can't really just plug and play without reading the materials because, again, there's been so much custom work done on items in the game to make this more of an open game and to make the randomizer work. And so I imagine if you just jump in, you'll probably be frustrated. So make sure you read the README. I tried to make it as concise as I could and get everything in there that you need to know. So that should help get through. But join us on Discord. iogr.app. iogr.app is the website you can go to roll a seed. Always check for updates. There's new stuff that we're putting out. We're working on an entrance randomizer, which is a butt ton of work, but it's been fun so far.
It's been a labor of love.
This whole thing has been a labor of love from myself, from the community. Brian is actually paying his own money to host the website right now, and it's just I keep telling him to get a Patreon or something, to defray some of that cost, because I know people love this game and would pay to play it, but it's just no one's making any money from this. We're all just doing this for fun, and it's been so much fun. This has been probably the most fulfillment I've had in any project I've ever done. Just because of the people, and I'm really satisfied with the product where it is now, and it's been a lot of fun. So, where are we on our estimate? I think we're still way ahead, but I think I'm at the end of things that I can say about this.
Yeah, we didn't quite expect this seed to go as fast as it had.
Yeah, that's randomizer for you. Maybe we should have made it a 6-statue completable seed.
Oh god, that would have taken just a little bit longer.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about chaos seeds, is that it really is chaos as far as how long it takes. Because you can be locked out of whole swaths of the world. It could be a jet seed, or because of certain trolley aspects of where things are placed, it could take you a super long time. Yeah, so shout outs to our runners, Sye990, I'm talking to right now. Give him a follow. solarcell007, give him a follow as well. I'm Don't Bagumi. Don't follow me because I never stream. But
follow him anyway.
Instead of following me, join the Discord. I'd much rather have you as part of the conversation. That's really what this is about. Just growing the community and just sharing the love of the randomizer to as many people as can get it. And everybody a lot of the people who have come have good ideas that end up getting folded into the randomizer. Like I was talking about the Red Jewel Madness mode, where you start with 40 hit points in the beginning of the game, and every time you turn in a Red Jewel, you lose a hit point. That's just kind of a super fun mode that you can play. That was, I think, Mr. Freet's idea. He's like, hey, everyone talks about how red jewels are kind of boring, like they don't really do much, and you get a lot of them in the game, and and so we kind of thought of that mode. I think he just kind of threw it out as a joke. He was like, hey, we should have a mode where this happens, and I'm like, that's a good idea, and so I did it.
Yeah, Mr. Freet's such a good lad.
He's a good lad. Mr. Freet's a good lad. Give Mr. Freet a follow too. Why not?
Yeah, Red Jewel Madness. That pairs really well with the Red Jewel Hunt we have as well.
Yes, yeah. So if you don't want to play a Dark Gaia mode, a good starting place might be you don't have to fight any. It's kind of like the Triforce Hunt in Link to the Past randomizer, and so you essentially just gather all the red jewels to beat the game, and then you talk to the jeweler and you warp the credits. So it's a nice entry-level thing, but a nice challenge is to pair that with the Red Jewel Hunt. So you have to get red jewels to beat the game, but every time you get closer to beating the game, you actually lose health. It's sort of macabre, actually, when you think about it, but, I guess... I mean, the game's kind of macabre, so I guess that it fits right in. Okay, well, I think that does it for me. Again, this is the Illusion of Gaia randomizer. Join the Discord, join the fun, go roll a seed, enjoy the game. I'm so glad that it is what it is now. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much to SNES Super Stars for showcasing this game. This is the second time the randomizer has been showcased in this event. NY Rambler last week ran a seed. This game got some love from La Hulk as well, who back on Wednesday ran the 80% run. Just casually pulled off a 2-hour run, just ain't no big deal for someone like the Hulk.
Just like Hulk, thanks.
That's just how it is. It's like, oh, it's just a sub 2. I guess that's an okay, that's like a rite of passage, for folks to get a sub 2 on that game. Yeah, shout outs to everybody on the leaderboard of this vanilla game too. I mean, it's really a who's who of just awesome speedrunners. You got La Hulk, you got Bo the Hero, you got Kroak, you got Zeal, all kinds of great people on there. Sye990, solarcell. I mean, these are the big names in speedrunning these days. So, yeah, it's a game that really brings people together, and this is how we save the world. Okay, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you all for watching. So glad to have you on board. Thank you, chat, for engaging and making this really fun for me. Thank you, runners, for being really entertaining and making this fun as well. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.